Hi, I'm Marie, and when I was married, I lived in the great big house with a lot of stuff, and I wasn't really happy. And now I live in this tiny little cottage across the street from the ocean, and I love it. As you can see, I'm in the kitchen right now, and this kitchen has everything that a regular kitchen would have, except everything's smaller. A smaller stove and oven, a smaller refrigerator. I have a place to put all my silverware. I have a great big sink that's very deep and countertop to work on, and a place here to eat dinner with my friend. This kitchen works fine. It is small, so I have to plan things in order, but other than that, it works just perfectly good. A regular meal prep for me is usually I cook some vegetables. I like to saute a variety, 2, 3, or 4 vegetables together. And I do bean products and some fish. So I can put a meal together in about 45 minutes at the most. I prefer to use the countertop if I can because I'm tall and I don't have to bend down. It would hurt my back if I had to do everything on this table, but I do use what I need to use. I mean, sometimes I flow onto the table, and other times I'm able to conduct all of my cooking here up on top of here. I have my butcher block here, and I do a lot of chopping. I use pretty much all the space that I have. I would love to have more space, but this cottage was built almost 100 years ago. It was regulated that we can't change anything. We can't extend walls out or anything. So we gotta make do with the space we have. Using space in a tiny home, organization, is key to having a happy life. And I learned over the years how to do that. I was lucky to have a big counter here with lots of storage underneath. So my pots and pans, my cookware, my kitchen soap things, and my saran wrap and all that are down here. And so I know where they are. I don't have to look for them, and they're always at the same place. And every time I use something, I put it right back to where I got it, because if I didn't do that, I'd have a disaster on my hands. This shelving unit was here when I got here, so I put my spices, my oils, you know, things that I like to have that fit in there. Everyone has a messy kind of drawer or a junk drawer. Well, this is kind of like the stuff I need, but it's put in an orderly way in there so I can see it and I can pick what I need. Here it's all food. I have a lot of cans of beans that I use. My refrigerator, I had a smaller one and it wasn't working very well, so I got a little bigger one, and it's just what I need. When I go food shopping, I'm programmed as to how much stuff I can actually put in there. So I don't waste food ever because I know exactly how much I can put in there and how much I need and use. So one thing I would do differently if I could design this kitchen, I would have moved the refrigerator over, maybe put the refrigerator there, I don't know. But have a counter space near my stove, so when I cut food, I can just put it on my stove to cook it. But I would suggest that if you are building one from scratch, you would definitely have space near a stovetop for cooking purposes. On this side of the kitchen, I have some extra storage. When I first moved here, it was just bookshelves that I had. They didn't have doors and it was kind of busy. But now with the doors, it makes everything look kind of neat. And in this cupboard, I put my dishes, my microwave, and my crock pot, and then all the rest of my cups and my glasses. We put up a little coat hanger here and a top shelf for my winter stuff when it is that season. And the dog has a water bowl here and a food bowl and his toys underneath. Throughout this tour, you'll hear me talk about simplicity in my cottage. And one of the ways I have been able to incorporate simplicity into the kitchen is through Wildgrain, who is the sponsor of this video. Wildgrain delivers par-baked sourdough, ready-to-bake pastries, pastas, pizzas, desserts, and more. Everything arrives frozen and bakes in 25 minutes or less. Making a loaf of fresh sourdough is so easy. All I have to do is take it out of the freezer and put it in the oven. Wildgrain boxes are completely customizable, and they have a ton of options to choose from. Right now, they have a great selection of items for the holidays, which makes it very convenient to host friends and family, or bring a dish over to someone else's house. For example, in this box, I got giant ginger molasses cookies and apple pie bites, which makes a perfect holiday dessert to share. You can also customize a Wildgrain box as a gift to friends and family, or give a Wildgrain gift card so they can build their own box. One thing that I love is that their sourdough is slow fermented, which makes it delicious and easy on the gut. And their products don't have any preservatives or artificial colors or flavors, which isn't something you can say about a supermarket loaf of bread. I also love that Wildgrain works with small bakeries, so not only is there care put into each item, I'm also supporting small businesses. And for each box you get, they donate 2 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank and other organizations that help fight hunger. If you want to try out Wildgrain for yourself, click the link in the description and use the code TINYHOME30 to get $30 off your first box and get free croissants for life. Now let's get back to the tour of my cottage. My cottage has a room. We have a little kitchen area, and then we have this room. This room is my workspace, my bedroom, my living room. I do everything other than eat here. It's very important when I walked into this cottage and initially to figure out what fit where. And I chose the workbench to be here because it faces the windows and it gives me light. I can look out the window once in a while, and this is where I wrote 3 books. I've been working at this space a lot. I started doing telehealth as a licensed clinical social worker or therapist on my computer. Next week I retire, but I've been doing it for a good 7 years. I got this desk from Amazon. It's called a workbench. People sometimes buy them and put them in their garages. There's this little shelving unit here that I had when I first came here, and there was no door, so I had a door put in. I have all of my clothing in one shelf. I got some clients, work stuff in a couple of shelves. I have my essential oils on top. So it's a very handy little closet, and it holds a lot. And this is my workspace. When I was around 9 years old, living at my parents' home, I was playing in the backyard one day, and I imagined this little cottage. It had little white flower boxes in the front and a little fence around it, and I could see through the door that it had a bed and a table and a chair, everything I needed. I just felt so warm and fuzzy looking at that cottage, imagining myself living in it. That went in the back of my mind for a long, long time. I got married, had a couple of kids. We lived in big houses. There was a lot of possessions that we owned and all that kind of stuff. And then I got divorced, and I started looking at YouTube videos and all kinds of shows about tiny homes. And I remembered my deep desire to live simply and to have a little home. And it just kind of like started me thinking about it. And I believe in the power of attraction. I believe that when we think about things and we really feel them, that sometimes they show up. And that's what happened to me. I met this guy who owns this property, and there are 10 cottages on this property, and it's right across the street from the beach. And I came, he told me to pick the one I wanted, so I did. And this is where I've been living for the last 6 years. It was something that was really in me all along since I was a little kid, and finally it came to be when I was 63. I'm probably saving about $1,000 or more. Everything is included in this rent: electricity, propane, internet, cable TV, everything. So it's really a wonderful deal. So after I was here for about a year, I decided to write a book about how I did this minimalism thing, how I simplified my life. As I reflected on it, I realized that I simplified my life by getting rid of possessions, but I also worked on simplifying my life with having less appointments, minimizing my use of time, slowing down the pace of my life, and also having positive thoughts instead of negative ones, simplifying that. So in my book, I have how I did this simplifying of my life. And I have worksheets to help people think about how they want to simplify their lives, because simplifying our lives can be a way to self-care. Before, there was a Murphy bed here. It was a full-size Murphy bed that would go up against the wall when we don't use it and comes down as a bed when we use it. And because I had surgery, I couldn't hold the weight. So we left the TV there, and that's the best place to watch TV. A lot of the spacing in this room has to do with where the window is and where the open walls are. When I first came here, I knew that I couldn't put shelving in front of windows, so I knew that I could fit 2 shelving units here. There's a little closet over there. I can get into it, just barely. It's like a puzzle. Everything has a place. And that's important to do when you move into a small space. You know what you want, and you got to find space for it. I had to find special chairs that were small enough because most chairs are much wider, and I found what I was looking for. It's a matter of knowing what you want, measuring the space, and making it work. And I just love the way it is, and I'm keeping it this way. One of the greatest things to remember when you're moving into a smaller space is that bookshelves, shelving units, are the best thing to get, because they only are usually not any deeper than 11 inches, and they could be 3 feet wide and 6 feet tall. So that's what I had when I first moved in here. However, I had a lot of baskets and boxes that I could see all the time, and it was busy. After I had been here a few years, I saved up some money and I bought these 2 cabinets and the one in the kitchen. They're wonderful. They have doors. I could put a lot of stuff behind here. I have all of my bead collection for jewelry making here. I have a shawl collection. I make angel plaques. I have my shoes. I have all kinds of other things that I have in here that I need, and they're put in boxes and labeled. I know where to find them. The same thing with this one here. I have all kinds of things that I need, like paper and office supplies and my toolkit and things that I go through about twice a year. I remember where things are. I get rid maybe of a couple shopping bags of them, bring them to a place where I donate them. It's my way of living my minimal life and not having clutter. So they're the best things to have when you want to have a lot of things in a small space. Some people ask me, Marie, what was the hardest thing for you to have to endure to move into a tiny space like you have? The hardest thing for me to do was get rid of my books. As you can see, on my shelf right now, I probably have like 60 books, maybe 50 books. I had over 3,000 books at one time. And I remember going through all of them, and I couldn't get rid of a single one of them. I did that several times. But when I first got to this cottage and saw the location across the street from the ocean, I had a motivation to make me get rid of my books. So that was the beginning of my being able to get rid of stuff that I felt very connected to. Some people feel connected to, you know, their clothing or their grandmother's china or whatever. And I always tell people, if it's a product like maybe your grandmother's china and you never use it and it takes up a lot of room and, you know, it's just not feasible to keep it, take a picture of a place setting or a teacup and put that picture in an album, maybe on your computer or whatever, and you look at them ever so often, and it gives you memories. Pictures can help to keep the memories going. Once I got over that hurdle, it all fell into place. I have one of the biggest bathrooms on the premises, so I feel very thankful. I have a shower. It's a small shower like people have in little spaces, and a regular sized bathroom sink and cabinets underneath for storage for soaps and stuff, and medicine cabinet. That's a normal size that most people have. Then I have on the other side is the toilet, and then the apartment washer dryer stacked that I utterly love. We have a laundromat on the premises that people can use. There's 2 washers and 2 dryers, and it's a wonderful thing to have, but to have my own is just special. So I appreciate it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything because I don't have a bigger space for a bathroom, because it's functional. Some people feel much more comfortable when they have a big space and they can scatter things around or put things in different places, but I like small space. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a dream about an imagination in my parents' backyard that there was a little cottage and I could live in it and had everything I needed. I could see it through the door, and it was a fantasy of mine as a little kid to have a small space and have just what I need. And this is my fantasy coming true for me at an older age, which is kind of funny. But I feel like I have everything that I need. And you know, one good thing about having a small space is it takes me 20 minutes to clean this whole place up. Vacuum and wash the sinks and dust. And if I had big apartments and big houses in the past, and it would take me 4 hours to do the same thing because I had more space to clean. So I don't miss that at all. This is the first book that I wrote when I had been here for about a year. It's called Minimalism for Wellbeing, a guide to simplifying all facets of your life. And I share how I simplified my life, and I invite people to think about how they can simplify theirs. This is my second book that I wrote a year later. It's kind of a journey to authenticity, finding peace, freedom, peace, and joy. And this is kind of like all the life lessons that I had learned in my life in the past 30 years from the different jobs I've had and things that happened in my life. This past May, a few months ago, I wrote Living with Simplicity and Discovering What Matters. It's kind of like getting older and looking at how I did slow down my life and discovered what really matters in my life and live that out. So these are my 3 books that I would invite you to look at if you're interested. The website name is livingwithsimplicity.com. On my website, you can find a link to all of these 3 books and my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.